Guys, what's going on? Welcome to Serial at Midnight. My name is Heath, and in this episode, we are shining a spotlight on Umbrella Entertainment's 6-shooter classics line. As the name would imply, every DVD in this line is a Western. The 6-shooter classics is devoted entirely to Westerns, all different eras of film, all different nationalities of cinema. We got Hollywood Westerns from the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. We've got Euro Westerns, we got spaghetti Westerns, German Westerns, we've got Australian Westerns because, of course, Umbrella Entertainment is an Australian company. Even modern independent Westerns. I am not aware of another large label that's given such attention and focus to the Western genre, or really to any one particular genre. There are companies that specialize in horror and science fiction, right? But this is a larger company that distributes all kinds of movies who has just been like, Westerns. We really want to elevate these Westerns. There are over 50, I counted myself, over 50 installments in the 6-shooter classics line. There's a couple of box sets. So I think it's amazing. And because I'm a huge Western fan, I just love to see, Westerns are just here's a brief thing. Westerns are the most American of all genres. But the influence into other, like the way that Europeans would pick it up and run with it, the way that Australians, because of course Australia and the West, it's so similar. There's so many similarities there. So I love to see a focus to a particular genre. And Westerns have been, for the last 30 years, Westerns have been really overlooked by the cinema community. So I love what they're doing. They've been doing this for years. This is not new. So head over to Umbrella Entertainment's website and check out all the offerings. Just type in 6-shooter classics and it'll pull them all up. And if you buy anything from there, let them know Serial at Midnight sent you so they know we're representing. But this is my collection of the 6-shooter classics. It's small but growing. I think I've got 9 here. I want them all eventually because they're just so beautiful. A lot of these movies, there are some movies that are available in other territories. I have to be honest about that. But a lot of this stuff is only in the 6-shooter classics line and nowhere else. So it's just really cool as a movie fan and as a the film collector who really likes to collect these things and have one branded label on their shelf. So let's jump right into it. I want to go through these one by one with you guys and kind of give you an overview of the movies, and I think that's a good sort of a microcosm of what the whole line kind of is. Let's start with Chukka. Chukka is a 1967 Western. It's a Paramount movie. I need to say this too. The quality can range on these titles because some of these, as I say, they come from European sources. Some of these, I think they only exist on VHS copies. A lot of Westerns, especially Euro Westerns or international Westerns, there's just no good source elements available. And for those of us who've been following this, like spaghetti Westerns on the 50 packs or whatever, a lot of this stuff has historically been really hard to find decent sources. So the studio pictures, the Paramounts, the Universals, they look really good. They come from studio sources. Those are always the best. This is a Paramount Western. It's a widescreen, anamorphic Western. It stars Rod Taylor, who's an Australian actor. He's great. He's a good actor because he could do like light comedy. Is it The Glass Bottom Boat with Doris Day? And then also Dark of the Sun, just a few years apart from each other, and one is happy and romantic and whatever, the other is just like as dark can get. Wonderful, versatile actor. Ernest Borgnine is in here. Also, I've got notes on the back so I can remember everything I want to tell you guys. This stars Luciana Paluzzi as well. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. Luciana Paluzzi, an Italian, I think she's Italian-American, born in Italy. She's the actress in Thunderball. She was in The Green Slime. When you get to a certain point in your movie journey, to coin a phrase, you start to collect actors. You start to connect all these dots, and you find yourself being like, oh, now I'm a Luciana Paluzzi fan, and you're mentally collecting the films that they like, oh yeah, this connects to this, connects to this. Wonderful, beautiful actress. Always a joy to see her in anything that she's in. This is a it's a fort that's under siege by Indian. I mean, they call them Indians in the movie, Native Americans, and it's a bunch of people from different walks of life. They've all got pasts, right? And they clash. There's like, it's like a bottle, and there's a fist fight about halfway through the movie with Rod Taylor and Ernest Borgnine. That is a great cinema fist fight. So that's Chukka. Let's talk about The Deadly Shooter, aka The Shooter. This is a Fred Olen Ray movie, 1997. Now, I really enjoy Fred Olen Ray movies. He's the legendary B-movie director, producer, writer. Recently, I was fortunate enough to host a launch party, an online launch party with Fred Olen Ray and Brink Stevens. And so I feel like I've got sort of a vested interest in Fred Olen Ray. This is one of his, dude made a Western in 1997. That's awesome. With Michael Dudikoff, the American Ninja. Randy Travis is in this as well. And so is, William Smith, not Will Smith, William Smith, the stuntman. I mean, he's a tough guy, famous tough guy, 70s movies. He was a stuntman as well. I consider him kind of a contemporary of Burt Reynolds, but anyway, great guy. Seven, the Andy Sedaris movie Seven. This is it feels very spaghetti western influenced to me. Kind of the best gun in the land comes into town. That's the thing about B movies, is that they often deal with just tropes, and they play with these tropes. And that's very much what this is, but it's fun. This is region locked. This is the only one of these that is not region free that I'm going to talk to you guys about. It's region locked, so you are going to need a region free player to access it if you're outside of Australia. But and this is also in the 4x3, the one, what do they call it? It's full frame, right? It's square, because it was made in 1997 before DVD. I don't think it went to theaters. I think this was made for the home video market, like VHS home video and cable, right? But anyway, it's great to have this. This is an obscure Western, and with Dudikoff in it, it shouldn't be. And so again, look, Umbrella's like, let's get that out to people. So, Beyond the Law. Now, this is a Lee Van Cleef. It's an Italian-German co-production. So let's just say that it's a Euro Western. Feels a lot like a spaghetti Western, but it's got that German influence, so it's not just Italian. This is one of those movies that I've seen a lot on 50 movie packs, the big collections of spaghetti westerns, and we know, right, that a lot of those movies look like garbage in those collections, because westerns unfortunately they've not been cared for well, and a lot of times for TV they would take a widescreen image, right, and they would smush it together so everything's stretched out. So there are many bad copies of movies like this. This is in its original aspect ratio. It's in the widescreen aspect ratio. Now, the downside of this is that it's not anamorphic. So there are black bars on the side and black bars on the top and the bottom. It's also not a very high quality print. Like, it's got some what we call macro blocking, right? It's got the pixels. You can see the pixelation. They switch scenes, or you go to a water scene or something like that, and you can see the blocking. I think it's the best that's out there. I'm not aware of a better source for this, and it's the first time I have seen this movie in its original aspect ratio. So I think that with some of this stuff, they just took the best that they could get. Better to put what they have out and do their best than to not put them out at all, if that makes sense. And I should also say, all of these movies range in price in Australian dollars. They range from $5 to $19.99. That's the US currency, like $15 in US current. $15 Australian is like $11 US currency. As of, that changes constantly, but as of this recording, that's what it is. So sometimes people they're like, Americans go to these websites and they're like, well, wait a minute, what about them? Like, did you convert to your currency? $5 Australian. What is that, like $3 for some of these movies? It's amazing. So anyway, I just wanted to shout that out as well, because it's not like they're $50 or anything like that. It's a departure for Lee Van Cleef. It's kind of a throwback to a 50s Western. Like, I feel like they're trying to be a Hollywood Western with Lee Van Cleef. He's kind of a scoundrel, robber character, and he kind of people think that he is a hero, and the movie gets to play with the notion of, does that, if you play the part of a hero long enough, do you become a hero? Does pretending to be put you closer to the path to actually being? It also has Antonio Sabato in it, the father of Antonio Sabato Jr. It's good, and it's complete. This is another one of those movies that has been cut a lot. There was an international cut that was like 25 minutes shorter or something like that. It's to my knowledge, this is the full. It's like an hour and 49 minutes. I think the box even says it's less than that. The box says that it is 81 minutes long, but it is not. It's an hour and 49, I think, right at an hour 50. Another Lee Van Cleef is Kid Vengeance, also known as Vengeance. This is an interesting movie. This is did I say what year this was? This is 1968. And this is 1977. This was I believe this was the last Lee Van Cleef spaghetti western to be released. It's not the last one he filmed. I believe it's the last one that came out. And it's a Golan Globus production. Now, you guys probably know Golan and Globus are the guys behind Cannon Films, the Cannon Group. I don't think this qualifies as a Cannon film. I've seen people include it as a Cannon film. I think this is pre-Cannon. Cannon was in operation, I suppose. It's like how they branded things. It was branded as a Golan Globus production. And it's got kind of a notorious history. It was filmed, so he signed this contract. Lee Van Cleef signed this contract. There was a 1-2 punch for, what is the name of it? God's Gun. I had to check my notes because I forgot the title. God's Gun and Kid Vengeance were filmed at the same. They're like back-to-back productions. Golan and Globus just took these guys out in the Israeli desert and dropped them off, and they were like, "Go make a movie." And there are still, the stories about Golan and Globus are legendary, and they're not all good stories. There's a lot of really bad stories about how they treated their talent, and this is one of those that's like, it feels like exactly what it is. It feels like even the actors seem like they're being exploited. It's got Jim Brown in it, who is fantastic. Love Jim Brown, who was no stranger to the Western either. And he was in he did a lot of Westerns with a lot of movies with Lee Van Cleef too. Leif Garrett is in this, teen heartthrob Leif Garrett. He's the kid in the Kid Vengeance. It's a revenge story. It's kind of a there's an assault. Lee Van Cleef is involved in an assault, and little Leif Garrett must avenge what he has lost. This looks like it comes from VHS. It looks like a like a VHS tape conversion. But again, that's all I've ever seen. I don't think that better than that exists. And of the copies of this that I've seen, I haven't seen a ton of copies of this, but of the ones that I've seen, it's the best. It feels like they really did what they could. So it's full frame, it's cropped, it's low like VHS quality, but it's complete and it's perfectly watchable. It's what I noticed that my generation, who grew up with like UHF TV, we had the rabbit. Like, I'm the last generation that had a rabbit ears, who would try to tune things in on channels, on your the over the airwaves channels. Those of us who grew up like that, like if you wanted to see something, you had to check the TV guide, and you had to set your VCR if you wanted to make sure you saw something. We're a lot softer about this stuff than those generations after us who were like, I want 4K and nothing else. We're just happy to see some of this stuff. Like for me, I'm just happy Kid Vengeance exists on a very decent copy with the cool art as part of a branded line. So I know this goes out to all different kinds of people. So I know I will be preaching to a choir, and there's also going to be people who are hearing this for the first time. A lot of us have watched most of movie history. We watched inferior quality. New, excellent quality, that's a very new thing. And it doesn't exist for everything. So if you only care about the absolute best available, there's stuff you're never going to see. And I'd rather we see things. All right, that's my sermon. Step off the soapbox and let's talk about the Desperados. Love the Desperados. This is a 1943, I think it's Columbia. Yeah, it's a Columbia Western. Randolph Scott, Glenn Ford, It is the first Technicolor Western from Columbia. Columbia was kind of a cheap, kind of a low-budget studio. They were known for, they were almost like a B-movie studio. Not like Poverty Row or anything like that, but Columbia was a lesser tier for Warner Brothers or somebody like that, or, Universal. Columbia was a lower tier. But, I mean, I love that stuff. The stuff that they came out with was fantastic. So this comes out of that. It's their first Technicolor movie. It's produced by Harry Joe Brown, which, note that. And it was the assistant, there were two assistant directors on this movie. By the way, it was directed by Charles Vidor, but he had two assistant directors. One of them was Bud Bedecker. Now, if you've been watching our Western coverage or just Serial at Midnight in general, you know I love Bud Bedecker. You know I especially love Bud Bedecker when he directed Randolph Scott, and the trifecta was Randolph Scott starring in a Harry Joe Brown production directed by Bud Bedecker. This is the movie where everybody met. This is the movie produced by Harry Joe Brown, starring Randolph Scott, assistant director Bud Bedecker. This is where it all started to form and gestate. And it would be like a decade before they'd all work together on 7 Men From Now, I think is the first one they did. Could be wrong, but I think that's the first one for Warner Brothers, I believe. But this is where it all starts to take place. This is a fantastic. It's nothing special in terms of plot or anything like that. It's I don't even know. It's a scheme. There's like some people schemed a bank robbery and they blamed it on Glenn Ford. Or he's in. See, it's complicated. It's a bank robbery movie, but it's really a character piece, and it's in 1943. That's early for more gray morality. You don't get that until like after the war, when people started to come back after World War II and the things they'd seen and things they'd done, and then noir is born. This is the beginning of that, but the morality, and that's one of the things that I love about all those Bud Bedecker Westerns, is that there's such a lot of the Bud Bedecker Westerns are also in the 6-shooter classics line. There's a real gray morality to the characters. They're not white hats and black hats. It's very complicated. Good people do bad things. Bad people do good things. This movie is like that. People that you think are the bad guys, you end up like you're on their side. Authority figures that you think are supposed to be the good guys, you're like, wait a minute, I don't. They become good guys do bad things. It's really complicated, but it's a great movie. I absolutely think this is a stellar film. Was there anything else I needed to tell you guys about this? It's full frame, 1:3:3, the full frame aspect ratio, but that's what it was shot in. This was not like a scope movie. It was a squared framed movie. Let's see. I'm going to save this one for last. Got a couple of Audie Murphy movies to talk about. I love Audie Murphy. Let's do these together. We got Arizona Raiders, and we've got Walk the Proud Lands. One of these days, I'm going to have to do an Audie Murphy spotlight. World War II hero, the character in Inglourious Basterds, the German character who sniped all the people and became like the film star in Germany. That's Quentin Tarantino playing with Audie Murphy. That was Audie Murphy for the U.S., right? He was the American war hero who survived in outstanding circumstances, comes back to the homeland, comes back to the U.S., and he's a hero. And he gets all sorts of awards and a movie career. He wasn't a great actor, but he was authentic, right? So 1965, 1956. I think both of these are Universal. Let me see. This is Columbia. This is Universal. Both in their aspect ratio, both anamorphic. This movie also co-stars Buster Crabbe, Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, the icon, Buster Crabbe. And this one stars Jay Silverheels, aka Geronimo, and Anne Bancroft, The Graduate. Are you trying to seduce me, Mrs. Robinson? So, both of these, we're almost done, guys. Northwest Mounted Police is a Gary Cooper and Madeline Carroll movie. It's directed by Cecil B. DeMille, Ten Commandments guy. We did a full review on this here on the channel. The next one too, but 1940. Really fun. It's got Paulette Goddard in it, who I love from the Bob Hope co-starring movie she did, Ghostbreakers, The Cat and the Canary. It's also got Lon Chaney Jr. in it. This is a full frame as well, which is the original aspect ratio. Last but not least, I saved this for last because I love it. This is Stranger on the Run. This is a Henry Ford. It was a TV movie in 1967, but it's directed by Don. I think he wrote it too. Don Siegel. No, he did. He did not. He did not write it. It was written by one of the guys who would go on to write Dirty Harry, and Don Siegel directed Dirty Harry. So it's Henry Ford right before Once Upon a Time in the West. It's got Dan DeRea in it. It's got Michael Parks, who is fantastic, Ann Baxter. Very complicated morality. Again, Henry Ford he goes on a transformation throughout the movie. Good soundtrack, good themes, solid Western. So that's my spotlight. This is what I have, and I do hope to get more. And if I do get more, we'll talk about them here. But I wanted to spotlight this label. I think it's fantastic. I love Westerns. I love talking. Clearly, I love talking about Westerns. I think they are an absolutely stellar genre, and hopefully we can get more excitement about that because they're just great, and they tell us so much. Westerns, people will say like, well, I don't necessarily like Westerns. Well, that's like there's Westerns for all kinds and Westerns for all types of storytelling. There's comedy Westerns, there's noir Westerns, there's, it's just a framework, right? It's just what sort of story is being told in the Western format. So thanks to Umbrella Entertainment for the 6-Shooter Classics line. So much to love there, so much to support. Do you guys have any of these? What do you think about these movies? And if you're going to go over there and pick something up, let me know what you're interested in, because I would like to know. I just want to continue that conversation in the comments below this video. So, guys, thank you so much. Take care. And until next time, I will catch you later.